Hi, you're watching TechCrunch TV, and this is CrunchWeek, the weekly show in which we sit down and shoot the breeze about some of the most interesting stories in tech. I'm Colleen Taylor. Normally in this spot is Lena Rao, but she is out of town this week. So I am joined by two of my esteemed colleagues, Ryan Lawler and Drew Olenoff.
Hello.
It was a good week. It was a good week in tech. What happened?
Lots of controversy this week.
It was very controversial.
Yeah. So to start, I guess we'll talk about Tesla and the New York Times and this back and forth over a New York Times review. For those of you who have been living under a rock, basically the New York Times wrote this really, really horrible review about the Model S, I believe it was, doing a test drive from New York to Massachusetts. And somewhere along the line, like basically it was cold and the car started running out of power consistently. And the reporter writes this up and talks about his experience. And the car ended up just like stopping somewhere along the line, had to be towed. So yeah, basically it was like, really bad experience. But then Tesla CEO Elon Musk took a bunch of the data that they collected from the test ride and kind of, refuted that, the reporter's account of things. Right. And then there was another back and forth. So with the New York Times guy coming back and saying that he followed all the instructions and the car still crapped out. Right. So I don't know.
Yeah, and then Tesla, they said, he was doing donuts in a parking lot and like, there's like all these wild things. And, I imagine that this ride was something like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off where they grab the car and just go. And then the reporter's like, no, actually. But the back and forth is interesting for a few reasons. I guess Elon was saying that the journalists had already come into it not liking Tesla's products and company, right? Or just not being a fan. So did that bleed over into his coverage? Did a snafu turn into a big deal?
Well, he had previously written a story, like a year ago that was critical of the electric car industry. Right. And so, the debate is whether he went into it with a bias and then tried to sabotage the test drive.
Right. I wonder if this is a case also, though, of, with everything, there's three sides to the story. There's one side, the other side, and the truth. And so I think it's somewhere in the middle would be where I would go with this. I think Elon Musk and Tesla is probably a little bit more cautious now because of what's happened to them in the past. Sure. They've, one time on Top Gear, the very famous show, Top Gear went into it with the whole idea was that they were going to tow away the car.
The script was already written before the thing.
Yeah, and it was the car was completely operative, but they still put it on a flatbed and towed it out just to make it look dramatic. And so, this other time, it's like history repeating itself. The New York Times comes out with the story, and the feature image is the Model S on a flatbed truck. I mean, that's a big hit from the New York Times. But
well, CNN, a couple CNN reporters took it for a drive. They didn't have a problem. I mean, who knows? There's so many. I mean, this is still a very early technology and early situation, so who knows?
I think the winner here was Elon Musk, though, for sure. Yeah. I mean, this was one article, and he did not back down from this fight.
Well, how many public CEOs are going to come out and basically write this entire rebuttal to a story like that using data to back it up? I think, the bigger picture here is, though, it's not that the electric car isn't ready for prime time, but maybe you don't want to take it on, a road trip for several hundred miles when they have, they max out at, I think, 250 per trip or something like that.
And getting used to all the quirks and the nuances of an electron. It's not like they can drop it off at your house and you're like, okay, I'm going to go. Like, there's instructions, there's rules. They had to talk to, I think they talked to their CTO, to make sure you charge it, it's fully charged. Right. You check this, you check that. Who knows? But it was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was very dramatic.
Yeah.
Elon's post was phenomenal. Yeah. Definitely, that's a must read.
Yeah.
Cool. So what else happened this week?
Well, in news that is not eco-friendly or low carbon emissions, like a Tesla Model S, Blackjet, a new startup from the co-founders of Uber, just launched in San Francisco and Las Vegas this week. So it's kind of been a soft rollout of a lot of different cities. Blackjet is essentially an Uber for private jets. In the same way that apparently there are all these, well, for Uber has found that there are all these black limousines around waiting to be used. There are a lot of private jets apparently around.
And by the way, that's not a suggestion for other startups to say, we're the blank of blank. See, they can do this because it's the same founders as Uber, right? So they can say that. But you were at the launch event yesterday, which I saw the video and the pictures. It was crazy.
It was insane because the whole thing was they put out this launch event and they said, okay, the first 1,000 people who show up are going to get, a free membership, which membership is normally $2,500 a year, but that still doesn't give you free flights. The flights on top of this, if I wanted to fly today from here to Vegas, it would be like $1,500 for a ticket, which is a lot of money, but a lot of people have that kind of money. Anyway, but I was, they said, oh, the first 1,000 people who show up, and I know that me and our other TechCrunch TV reporter, our producer, were like, oh, I don't know how many people are really going to show up. This is kind of a niche product.
So how many?
We go to Union Square. I mean, I don't know if it was 1,000, but it was hundreds of people lined up. And these weren't, paid actors or anything. These were people who were legitimately interested.
So that was the launch, and then you extracted some more news.
Oh, thank you for teeing me up on that.
It didn't end. No, it wasn't just that. It kept going.
Shervin Pishavar, who's,
investor,
well-known.
He's kind of just Shervin.
He has just Shervin. He's been he's taking over the chairman role at Blackjet, and he is very connected. It'll be interesting to see what he does.
Last week the news came out that he was stepping away from his venture partner role at Menlo and going into more of an advisory role and doing more investing on his own with Scott Stanford from Goldman Sachs, right?
Yes.
So with this project Sherpa, which we still have yet to really get all the details around it, but that's coming soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I thought it was kind of interesting that this, by doing that, this allows him to have more freedom to take on a bigger role at Uber, to take over the chairmanship at Blackjet, and he sort of, I saw this image of him surrounded by
I love it.
Blackjet flight attendants
I think they were
or
called, like,
models or whatever they were.
Sky Angels
the
or
Sky
something.
I love
Angels.
it. Why not?
These women were beautiful. And so that's what I joked in my post too. I said, maybe they were all lining up for Blackjet, but then also maybe they just wanted to get a closer look at these.
Right.
And I don't think these women are really flight attendants. I think they're paid models. I don't know though.
Did he have his, so he had his Richard Branson moment?
Surrounded by the beautiful
Did he
flight
pick any
attendants.
women up? Have you seen Richard Branson picking up women?
Wow.
There's a wonderful Tumblr.
Physically picking up women or just picking up women? Because I've heard both.
There's a Tumblr of Richard Branson picking up women. I'm telling you.
These guys are crazy. I mean, they're like, look, we're going to start an airline.
Yeah.
Let's start an airline. Sure, why not?
Well, yeah, but they did the same thing with Uber, right? Like if you talk to Travis or Garrett, like the idea was, they just want to be ballers and roll around in San Francisco in black cars, and that was sort of the origin story.
Yeah, and to get a private jet, I mean, it sounds so niche and so out there, but so did getting a limo to a lot of people.
Look, you're having a bachelor or bachelorette party. You want to impress some clients, and you got to imagine as they solidify the model and they get into more places, the price could come down.
Well, I think for Blackjet though, the idea is that there's just so much unused capacity in the private jet market that it just makes it more efficient to do it this way and to actually have apps and scheduling and put some technology behind what had previously been chartering a private jet was calling someone up and saying, I need it at this time. This will actually
pay for the crew.
Make it more efficient.
Yeah. Apparently a private jet flight, every time I've gotten one, I'm kidding.
No, the last time I took a jet. So which one of us is going to be the first to do it? Is it a race to go? Because you have to take TechCrunch TV onto the flight.
Yeah. We need a hands-on demo.
Hands-on demo.
I think this is important.
I think we're going to make it happen.
Hands-on demo. But apparently it's typically like $20K or $30K to do something like this. So $1,500 is significantly less.
Start saving your pennies, folks.
But I think this is a bigger risk of a startup idea than Uber was. So this will be interesting to see what happens. What else happened this week?
EA, Zynga.
EA and Zynga. Yeah, so last August they, Zynga came out with the Ville, which was their social game with the characters, and it looked an awful lot like The Sims.
Like
from
Sims
EA.
Social,
and The Sims
yeah.
has been around forever, and then they did Sims Social. So they went back and forth, and EA made statements that Zynga doesn't know anything about copyright, and Zynga actually came back with their own lawsuit and said, well, you're anti-competitive, right? And they're fighting over employees and information. Today they've settled. No money has changed hands, the source tells us. And apparently everybody's happy. Of course, that's what they want you to believe.
That's such a downer. I thought that this was really going to end up in like a court battle or big money.
That's what EA said they wanted. EA said they were doing this for the better of game developers, right? And I don't see this settlement as doing anything other than just saving both companies money. It disappeared. After August, it kind of disappeared. You didn't hear anything about it. And nothing has happened for game developers. I mean, Zynga is synonymous with, my opinion is they're synonymous with copying stuff. That's their approach. They see something that works, they copy it, they do it.
They use their massive distribution
Yes.
and try to get people.
Yes.
But that didn't work this time,
It
right?
did
The
not.
whole problem with Cityville and the lawsuit is that no one used it.
The game sucked
The
and
game
nobody
sucked
played it.
and no one played it.
So they came out and said, we're actually backing off on putting resources in the game. Yes, for reasons, because it sucked. So maybe that had something to do with it too. EA was like, well, we're beating you up, and the game blew.
Yeah.
Like, showed you. But I would love to see for EA to come out of this and say something like, this is what happened for the greater good of game developers. Because this can't happen. I mean, it's just not fair play.
Yeah. Kind of a downer or a buzzkill after they promised this
Right.
big fight and big money and taking a stance. So take note, EA. We'd like to see more.
Yeah.
Not even just to see Zynga get in trouble. Just on either side.
Call people out on their stuff.
Yeah. If Zynga's right, then they should get a payout. If EA's right, they should get a payout. It shouldn't just be like shake hands.
Right.
We want more drama.
Right.
Well, it's more about, really, it's just about setting the precedent. Because right now there's, copyright over games is really, really terribly broad, and there's not a good example of someone going to court over the copying of game design and actually coming out on top, so that you can't copy or you can't, pull a Zynga and create.
And that's that phrase right there, pulling a Zynga. Will Zynga continue to pull a Zynga? Did they get away easy? We'll see. But
Zynga already hates us. They're going to hate us more after this.
Nobody hates us.
Yeah, so I think that's about it for this
Harlem
week.
Shake.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Right. So
We have to talk about the Harlem Shake.
Talk about it. And what was but why are we talking about it?
We're talking about it
A company did something.
It's not just a certain company. It's a bunch of companies.
Okay.
So at some point, I don't even know how it came about. It was basically just this idea of this meme popped up, as memes do, with basically 30-second videos of people dancing to this song, the Harlem Shake. And, it's gotten to the point where Facebook's done a video, and Google's done a video, and AOL HuffPo has done and that's kind of when it's over.
We all made that noise. We're like, AOL HuffPo.
But in 3 months, the New York Times is going to do a video because the New York Times is on it. But yeah, I don't know.
I've heard rumors that maybe one day a video might come out of this office, but we can't guarantee anything. We can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah.
TechCrunch might
But
have a Harlem
Lawler
Shake
is on the
video.
memes. Like, he knows about it weeks before it happens. And
Not weeks before,
You were
but
tipping us all off.
but remember, so this is just one of those things where
Memes 101.
with Call Me Maybe, Alexia wanted to do Call Me Maybe back in August. I was like, no, that meme's done. Everybody's about Gangnam Style now,
Yes.
and then it blew up.
Right.
And last week, I was like, hey guys, we're going to do our Harlem Shake video, and they're crickets.
Yes.
And then suddenly, Facebook and Google do theirs, and people are like, oh, we should really do our own.
Yeah.
It's like, screw you guys.
Ryan Lawler.
Ryan the meme Lawler.
Trend
He knows.
spotter.
Yes.
You're the trend
All right.
spotter.
All right.
Yeah,
With that-
so maybe stay tuned for our Harlem Shake.
Maybe.
We'll see. But other than that, that's an end to this Crunch Week, and thanks for watching.
All right. Bye-bye.
Con los terroristas.
Do the Harlem Shake.